It is June, and the mid-year forecast for the Atlanta real estate market, boy, is it revised. Hi, I'm Deborah Morton with Inside Georgia Real Estate, here talking to you today about all things real estate related in Georgia. Send your comments, questions, anything you want to chat about to InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com, and we will gladly cover it in the next episode. Right now, today, we're talking about the 2026 housing forecast revised. Experts have revised their predictions for the year, and rightly so. The economy, inflation, jobs, all the things are not trending in the direction anybody wants as the Iran war continues and inflation rises. The job market is especially concerning as those numbers, we're actually seeing declines in the jobs. These are all factors that influence what's happening with our mortgage rates prediction. The Fed does not regulate mortgage rates. Just to be clear, when we talk about the Fed and what the Fed does, they do not control mortgage rates. Mortgage rates move in anticipation of what's going on with the Fed, and it generally is tied to the 10-year Treasury. That being said, I'm not an economist. I am a realtor. I am your local Atlanta real estate expert, and I want to talk about and interpret for you what all of that means if you're thinking about buying or selling or investing. So mortgage rates at the beginning of the year, people were predicting 2026 would be a rebound year from 2025. 2025 was not a spectacular year in real estate, and as a result, many agents just simply got out of the business. Transaction counts are down, but here we are in June, and what we're seeing, we have a new Fed chair. That was exciting. The administration plugged in. Jerome Powell was done with his term. We have a new Fed chair, and everybody thought he was going to be the savior and lower interest rates. However, his role is to create stability in the monetary system, and none of the factors are pulling together. With inflation nearing 4%, jobs decreasing, these are all things. The unemployment really matters. So what we're seeing are an indicator that we're not going to see a mortgage rate decrease. In fact, it could go up slightly. And the prediction is, if you wanted my Deborah Morton silver prediction for the rest of the year, we're probably going to stay in the sixes, hopefully under 6.5. 6.3 is the place where we're still seeing people buy and sell houses. It's a little bit more challenging for people, but it's not ridiculous because the 50-year average is 6%. So we are still recovering from this false idea that mortgage rates are going to be in the threes. Nobody who deals in real estate or anything with finance thinks that's normal. 3% mortgage interest rates was aberrant. It was tied to controlling what was happening during the pandemic, and we're not going to go back there. So if 6% is the norm, if we're looking at 6.3 to 6.4% for the rest of 2026, it technically is normal. So we're going to modify to that. But what we're seeing right now is a reduction in transaction volume. We're seeing more inventory on the market, buyers have more options, and yet they're not choosing to transact. My personal opinion on this is because the homes they're seeing are not in the condition that are compelling enough to get them to commit to moving forward. If you listen to the last show, we talked about what it takes to get a buyer to move forward. They have to be motivated and they have to be committed. And a lot of the homes that are for sale in the Atlanta market right now are not in a condition or a price that is compelling enough to get a buyer to commit. So what we're seeing is new home sales and new construction builders have rolled back. They don't have as much standing inventory. And we are actually, for the first time in a long time, seeing builders do some price reductions and even bigger builder concessions to get their homes sold. What is crazy, doesn't make any sense at all to me in my rational mind, and if you have an opinion about this, I would love to hear it. Why the expectation is that the median home price is supposed to go up 2.6%, with the predictions for lower transactions, fewer new construction builds. Why they think the median home price would elevate is beyond me, because we are seeing a lot of price reductions in the market. And the only reason I could think an economist would predict that is because of inflation. The cost of new homes has increased significantly. The cost of products, the cost of labor, the cost of land, everything has gone up. So what we have to believe is maybe that median number is the midpoint between the highest and the lowest. That median will increase because ultra luxury is still selling. Luxury homes at higher price points do still sell. People in the luxury market are less impacted by mortgage rates and all of the inflationary issues that we're talking about. So two different ends of the market. You've got starter homes, first-time buyers. You've got what we call the bread and butter, the mid-level homes, which is where the average person wants to live, grow their family. That's where the most of the transactions happen. And then you've got the upper end. The luxury market is less impacted by inflation. And those prices are stable. Houses are still transaction, and they're pulling the median price up. That's the only explanation I have for it, because in the Atlanta marketplace, from January 2026 to where we are here in June, we are seeing fewer transactions, more price reduction, and that is supply and demand at work. That's how our economy works. We have a greater supply, the demand isn't there, prices are stable. I'm going to say stable. If you're a buyer and you're looking at homes and you want a really good deal, well, you look for homes that have been on the market for over 100 days. We are seeing that, and that's where there are some significant reductions in prices happening. Is it because the home was overpriced, or is it because the condition of the home didn't warrant it? This is where price and condition come together and is the most important thing when you're selling a home or when you're looking to buy a home. If a buyer evaluates a home and determines that they're going to have to put more money into it after they move in to bring it up to the condition that they want, equal or on par with what they're looking for, they're not going to pay full price. And this is an interesting perspective I have, because when I go to meet with a homeowner who wants to sell, and they say, well, my neighbor up the street sold their home for $800,000. And your home is a similar square footage. It has similar features, similar lot size. That all makes sense. But the neighbor's home had an updated kitchen, updated bath, updated landscaping, fresh paint, new flooring. That sold at $800,000 for that price. Interesting, nationwide, 5.8% of all home listings were pulled off the market in April. That was according to Redfin. And delistings were up 3.8% compared to March. That would be homes that were listed and pulled. And Atlanta saw the most homes taken off the market as higher mortgage rates and elevated gas prices weigh on housing. And it's because people don't have the money in their pocket to afford what they did. So condition of the home has to be compelling enough for a buyer to choose to move forward. This is what this podcast about, this show is about, helping buyers and sellers understand what's going on behind the scenes in real estate and help educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you on what is going on. So talking about pricing homes, a seller wants to price their home because their neighbor's home sold at $800,000, and they have a home that they've lived in for 15 years and they loved it. They've taken good care of it. They've maintained the furnace and the AC. They had the gutters cleaned. They mow the lawn. They've done all those things. But aesthetically saying, they never changed the granite, and the granite is still uba tuba from the brown colors, and it hasn't been updated. And buyers today are looking for quartz. They're looking for white and bright. And your home has beige or tan walls and lots of heavy browns, and it's lovely and it's in great condition. But will a buyer think that your home is worth the $800,000 that their neighbor's home? It's hard to say. You can try. But then when the home sits on the market, and as we're talking about, we're seeing this happen over and over, you list it and it sits. So are you looking at price reductions? Are you looking at withdrawing and relisting? Are you looking at just deciding, maybe this isn't the best time to sell? That perfectly describes the 2026 real estate market in Atlanta. So if you're evaluating putting your home on the market, make sure you're looking at condition as well as price. Utilize the home report card. Send us a message. We'll send it to you for free. There's no obligation. There are updates that you can make. I'm going to say there are 11, there's more, but there are some certain updates that are really important to consider if you're going to be selling and that buyers will be looking at. These include paint, backsplashes in the kitchen, flooring. Windows are a big deal because that's an expensive upgrade. Cabinets, bathrooms, fixtures, light fixtures, ceiling fans. I have to say, if your home still has gold, doorknobs, hinges, and light fixtures, it's going to be time for an update. These are things that buyers are not willing to put the sweat equity into updating themselves afterwards, not if they have to pay full price. And in their mind, full price is move-in ready, I do no work. Buyers are comparing your resale home to new construction because there are new construction homes available. They might be priced a little bit more than your resale home, but it might be worth it to the buyer who works a lot, sits in Atlanta traffic all the time, and don't have time. They don't want to spend their weekends working on their house. Either they don't want to, or they don't have the skill, they don't have the cash available. They would rather wrap it all into a mortgage, move in, live a great life, and your home has to be in the condition to be compelling enough to get a buyer to commit to moving forward.
I also would like to point out one of the key points for my generation, at least, for making any kind of changes to the home is vendors are outrageously expensive. Painters, plumbers, cabinets, they're outrageously expensive and we don't trust them.
So what we're talking about here is what goes through a buyer's mind. You got somebody in their mid-30s to mid-40s, they're buying a home. It might be their first home, it might not be their first home. But what they're evaluating is they work a lot. They value their time off, they sit in too much traffic, and they don't have the cash available to hire out somebody to change out the light fixtures, to change out the ceiling fans, to update the kitchen faucets, the things that really put that little edge on making a home beautiful. When they can buy a home that already has those features, they don't have to go through the hassle of dealing with contractors who, sorry, I don't know if you've hired anybody recently, it is hard to deal with contractors who don't show up, they are unreliable, they are expensive. Inflation is real. To get a handyman to come change out some fixtures for you, it's a lot of money, and they have to take off work to meet them, or they have to give up their precious free time on the weekends. So these are all important factors into why a buyer is just not interested in a home that needs work. They're just not interested. And we're seeing that play out in the Atlanta marketplace. I hope this conversation you found helpful. We will be bringing some really fabulous guests on from the trade services, electricians and handymen and plumbers and landscapers, to help talk about what they're seeing in their industry that will help sellers prepare and buyers decide about their real estate purchases. So we hope you find this helpful. The goal is to be informative, educational, and entertaining. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well wherever your favorite podcasts play, Spotify, Apple, and send us your comments and questions on InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com. Also, you can request our free seller guides, our buyer guides, the home report card, and our valuable vocabulary to help you get up to speed on valuable vocabulary that we use in the industry. I'm Deborah Morton. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.